Hello, I'm Amin Karbasi, the host of Behind the Scene chats at ICML. As I said before, the main reason that we are having these very casual interviews and conversations is that the ML community and the ICML community has grown dramatically in the last couple of years, and many people do not know how the decisions are being made. So this year we have decided to actually talk to the people who make the decisions and see what is happening behind the scenes. And today we have Kiri here with us. Welcome.
Thank you.
She was co-chairing the position paper track um, of ICML, and so we are going to ask some questions about that track. But before doing so, first, we wanted to know more about Kiri. I think you have one of the most fascinating careers, very unusual in my opinion. Very colorful. So we wanted to start with that. Like, how was your career? Like, how did you end up here? Like, with all these different things that you have done.
Well, thank you. It is a great pleasure to be here. I spent about 20 years at the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory, applying machine learning to space applications. So helping with onboard science for Mars rovers, for satellites, for the Europa Clipper mission heading out to Jupiter, and just taking what we can do with machine learning and data and putting that in service of science.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always been really motivated by cool applications and high impact work. And so that initially got me to the point where I submitted a paper to ICML many years ago called Machine Learning That Matters. That was a position paper. I did not know if ICML would ever publish a position paper. I just felt strongly about urging us to think outside of our academic bubble and look to what the world offers in terms of important problems. And that was accepted, and it became a plenary talk. And so it has had a lot of attention since then, and I think that was why Zico and the other organizers reached out and said, would you like to chair this track, because we're going to do it for real this time. We're going to have papers devoted just to positions, to opinions, and to controversial subjects.
Very good. But I think there are other parts of the career that you're not mentioning here. You have been involved with the Congress, for instance.
Yes. So after working at JPL for quite some time, I've more recently been teaching at Oregon State University. And then last year came this unusual opportunity that Congress wanted AI experts to come and advise them on legislation. And that fits in with this whole thing, because I thought, what bigger impact, what bigger real-world application of machine learning than to help figure out what our country should be doing.
Right.
So that's what I'm doing right now through the end of August.
What is it exactly? Like,
So,
like you go to Congress?
Yes, so I am embedded in a specific congressional office, and I work with the whole legislative team there. We review bills that are proposed by other offices. I help sanity check, does this make sense from an AI perspective? What might be missed here that if you're not in the field, you just wouldn't think of. And we also propose our own bills. So right now, my big project is an AI literacy bill to reach out to the whole American public and help them understand not how to train a neural network, not how it works, but what do they need to know as users of this technology now that it's being pushed out everywhere? What questions should they ask? And what do they need to know to make decisions about whether it meets their needs?
Right. Yeah, I am assuming this is, it's an opportunity, it's a privilege,
Yes.
and it's highly important, like that people who are in the know, who understand the technology, they can actually shape the regulations, because I don't think it makes sense to regulate something that is impossible. And we want to make sure that,
we don't want to write laws that make no sense.
That make no
that
sense.
Are not implementable.
Yes, exactly.
The other thing I've been really impressed with is, you have a certain sense of Congress from the outside, from the media.
Yeah.
And I was really pleased to discover when I got there is a hunger for science expertise.
I see.
Not just for AI, although that's a huge priority right now, but across the board. So the program that I am working through, the AAAS, They have scientists from all different expertise, biology, chemistry, astronomy, being put into these congressional offices to give them the expertise they might not otherwise have.
Do you work with a particular congressman or woman?
Yes. So I am in Senator Mark Kelly's office from Arizona, and he is a little unusual in Congress. He actually has a master's degree in engineering, and so he likes to know details. He likes to know how things work. He asks very good questions.
Very good. Yeah. More of that.
More of that, yes.
Excellent. So, what are you most excited about this year? In ICML, in machine learning, in Congress, like what is the most interesting thing?
Wow, that's a big question. I will say I'm a little biased right now with ICML. I'm super excited about what we're doing with these position papers. So I know that that's partly why you invited me here, but I feel like these conversations are different in character than some of the other ones we often have. We need the technical conversations, but we also need the big picture conversations.
Right.
So, things about like, what do we do about autonomous weapons and their development? That is a big problem. What do we do about how AI is being used to put out misinformation and influence elections and every aspect of our daily life? So now it isn't just something that happens at a conference, it's everywhere.
So now I'm obliged actually to ask the following question. What are you most disappointed about?
Disappointed
Yeah,
about?
like, that you said that this is not the right trend.
That is a hard question. Let's see. You might need to give me a little time to think about that.
Okay. We will get back to that.
Let's get back to that.
Okay, very good. So, one of the things that we want to understand is these position papers that you're actually co-chairing.
Chairing.
Sorry?
There's only me.
Oh, it's only
I'm
you,
chairing,
sorry. Okay.
Yes. Maybe there should be two.
Maybe there should be two.
We've
Yeah,
talked about that.
yeah. Very good. How they differ from the usual, like, right? So the usual papers.
Yes.
And how the position papers, how do they how they have been reviewed?
Yes.
What was the process? And give us some details about
Yeah, I'm glad you're asking because we spent a lot of time thinking about that and how to phrase it for the call for papers because we know this is a new thing and people may not be used to what's even sought.
Right.
So we wanted to get papers that would address a controversial subject within the field, put forward an opinion, and get people talking about it. So the review criteria are different versus a regular research contribution. Specifically, we encouraged reviewers to assess the quality of the argument that's being made. And we told them, you do not have to agree with the argument.
I see.
It's really helpful to remember that because we have a natural tendency to sort of favorably respond to things we agree with. But the point was not to agree. The point was to say, this will stimulate conversation that's important to have. And so that's how they were assessed. We did find quite a variability in papers that were submitted because it's new and people don't have a clear picture of what we're looking for.
Yeah.
So again, the idea needed to be something controversial and that would inspire conversation. We maybe didn't communicate as well that we wanted them to be really big picture questions about how our field conducts itself, how research is done, how evaluation is done, what things are we not spending enough time on. So we did get some papers that were more stating a position that was like, hey, my position is everyone should use my algorithm, right? Because that's how we're used to advocating for our own work.
Right.
But we wanted to go higher than that. So we did shift some papers to the main track if they really were truly a research contribution. I
see.
And we did some assessment there.
Right. And they were also given awards, right? The position papers.
They were along with the entire conference.
Right.
Yes, there were best paper awards.
How was it different? Like the
No.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it was looking at what the reviewers said, what the area chairs said, how highly they were rated, and that's how the best papers were assessed.
Okay.
It is interesting that a disproportionately large fraction of the best papers went to position papers.
It is, right? So
So
it was the same
orals.
committee that decided about?
That's
Okay,
right.
it was not a different.
That's right.
Okay.
So same thing with the decision about oral sessions. The position papers are disproportionately represented there, which is, I think, also good for a conference where this is your chance to have those arguments. But the reason they're there is because they were highly, highly rated.
Yeah. The other thing is that, what I actually appreciate about the ICML community is that we are willing to try.
Yes.
We're willing to try new things. We're
That's
willing
right.
to.
So we definitely want feedback. I personally want feedback. Anyone can email me or let me know if you think we can do this better or differently.
Right.
I will say too, since you're interested in the review process, we were very, very careful. So there were a few papers submitted where I personally, I know the co-author, I know one of the authors, have co-authored with them. And since there's only one chair, I couldn't, just have someone else do it. So for those papers, separated them out, and I recruited 4 people who did not submit to the position paper track, but are experts in the field, and had them make the final decisions for those papers. So I recused myself entirely, and we just, brought in the expertise
Good
we
practice.
needed. I think it's good practice.
Right.
Yeah, especially for a position paper, right?
Any controversies?
Controversies in the
Acceptance, review process.
We did a very common theme in the reviews of these papers were people saying, I can't tell if this is a position paper, right? And so again, this is that as we figure out what we want that to be, we need to communicate that clearly to reviewers, and we'll probably keep iterating to keep improving that. So often I'd have to go in and try to double check, does this meet our vision for this track? Because we have so many reviewers that we get a lot of different perspectives there.
Right.
But I think that is a thing that will improve over time as well.
Right. So are you going to be involved next year with that?
That has not been decided. It's up to the next set of overall program chairs for their vision for the conference. But I hope we continue this. I think we'll get even more submissions if we do that.
Yeah, it was something very new, very well received.
Yes.
I assume, and so we would like actually to. I think for a field that is growing a lot, many people, many researchers, they're basically looking at one specific problem, trying to solve one specific problem, go deep into one direction, but at the same time, we need to, once in a while, we have to just get out of our bubble and just see, the horizon. And the position papers, I assume, they try to do that, even though it might be very, very different directions, even though we may not agree that, this is what we have to do.
Especially if we don't agree.
Right.
That's the conversation we need to have. If we all agree, then we can just move forward, right?
Yeah.
But we need a way, especially with such a large gathering of minds and people, to talk about the things that we don't agree on.
Yeah. So now tied back to the Congress. So how much AI is resonating, and how much AI safety and how the use of AI is resonating with Congress? How much do they care about?
They care passionately about it. So last fall, the Senate convened 9 different, completely unique, so they did their own new thing this year. And typically Congress can have hearings where they bring in 3 experts, just 3 usually, to give some testimony and answer questions. What they did differently last fall is they brought in these panels of 20 to 30 people at once at a very big table on a specific theme like AI national security, AI in elections, AI and intellectual property, because it's really intersecting every part of our lives.
Right.
So they had these focused sessions with lots of experts and brought in all the staff, so people who might not have familiarity with AI could hear all these different perspectives.
I see.
And then they've consolidated that to try to find the bipartisan overlaps to develop an overall Senate roadmap for where we should be going with AI legislation. And so that is the guiding document that people are working with right now. It turns out, though, this is hard.
Yeah.
It's always hard to get agreement across an entire diverse collection of senators or representatives, but AI specifically, very challenging. So there have been some bills put forward already looking at some aspects of regulation, some aspects of limitations about where we could or should use AI. The election work as well, and environmental impacts of AI have also come up, which is an interesting one.
How about the legal issues?
The liability part?
Yeah.
That I don't think has yet been directly addressed. Some of the agencies have moved forward with putting out rules to try to, because that's a lower level. So like the FCC has talked about who's liable if you use an AI system to impersonate someone.
Yeah.
Is it just the person using the tool?
Or the
Is it the tool provider?
Yeah.
Who is it?
Yeah.
It's almost a question for the courts, though.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. What are the coolest papers in the that you have seen?
The coolest papers. It's very hard to play favorites. So, and you're asking me to do that.
Yes.
I think our choices in terms of the papers we felt should be presented orally definitely reflect the ones we thought would have the best discussions, and that seems to have already happened. Like when I was chairing the session, as the chair, I never had to step in with a question. People were lining up the microphones and jumping in. So very popular themes seem to be things like, yeah, this risk, is there catastrophic risk we need to be addressing? It's a very hot topic. And also this, what can we do as researchers? There's a paper about a safe harbor for those who want to probe at the limits of a system, which might violate its terms of service, but might give us good knowledge and understanding that we need to have about those capabilities.
Yes.
I think that also gets onto kind of the legal side of things as well.
Right.
So these are questions you might not normally get from a technical paper.
Very good. So, what is your advice about people who want to submit to, the position track?
Yeah, I think so many people have great ideas, and the position paper track, if you want to boil it down, you can think of it like, what do you think we should be doing that we maybe aren't right now? So, a technical contribution is like, here's what we learned. It's usually after the fact. Position papers are forward-looking. How should we change what we're doing? Or elevate something that isn't being worked on?
Right. I mean...
So if you have ideas like that, that's what we want to hear.
Right. So, I mean, one reason that, this way of thinking is very familiar with you is because you had a very, wide range of activities in your career, so you have seen a lot that gave you like the ability to see far. And so if you want to like give some advice on how people can, what would that be? To widen the horizon and like...
I do think getting a lot of contact with people in different disciplines is helpful. So we have a very large community here in ICML, but a lot of us work with people in planetary science, in astronomy, in the other natural sciences, and the social sciences. You run into different ways of thinking about problems there. And I find that incredibly helpful. You see other models for how they conduct research or how they organize their conferences. And we can borrow some of those ideas if you think it fits, if it's something our community would benefit from. But it's totally in keeping with what you just said.
Right.
Like that broad experience of other people is helpful.
Do you feel that we have to bring Congress to ICML?
I mean,
ICML to Congress.
Another thing I learned working there is that Congress is a lot more open than I thought.
Oh.
Literally anyone can walk into the building where the offices are anytime and go up to the senator or representative that you want to speak with.
Okay.
They will put you on their list. You do not have to have a certain credential.
I see.
You don't have to, be someone distinguished. They want to hear from everybody, and we are experts that they do want to hear from. So it'd be interesting to think about bringing one of them here to speak to us. That is a possibility, to have it go both ways. But I know that they are listening, and it's not just kind of lip service. I've seen someone visiting an office at their conversation flow directly into legislation that came after that.
Okay, interesting.
So it is effective.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
It's very empowering.
Good to know. Yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you very much for being with us today, and with all the comments, and I think it was great. And you gave us a new perspective about how to think about big picture, and thank you for organizing this, and I hope that it will continue.
Me too. Me too. Thank you.
Thank you.